This event of today has it's two segments. First one, we are through with it, and the second part of the event has to do with a certain discussion forum where there will be, or there are actually, certain women from different sectors where they know a lot about. They have experiences and so on. Of course, in addition to the SMEs, the representative who is coming on behalf of Ms. Naveen Gama as to the SMEs Authority, also Dr. Hania is on her way from the ASC to join us here. We'd love to start now. I want to present Dr. Heba Handoussa, and she's very well known, but she's my professor and the first economic course in the American University, and my specialization major was economics. She made me love economics. She's a wonderful personality. Maybe this is the first time I say she's my second mother. So Dr. Heba is the founder and the deputy manager for Egypt Network to Integrated Development. She's also the executive director and the real founder of the ERF, which was not available before Dr. Heba. It's an economic forum on the regional level, performing wonderfully well. She's got very consultative position, Egyptian and international, in the Egyptian government and the World Bank, and she was the counselor of the Minister of Industry for a lot of years. She has a lot of writings and publications in industrial economic development and foreign aids reforms, institutional reforms, developmental approaches, comparative, and she's got her PhD for economics from London University. Also, we have with us here Miss Jacqueline Kameel. We thought she was a foreigner, and then she's from Upper Egypt. After all what we thought, she's one of the pioneers of civil societies. She's the executive director of Nahdet Mahroussa, which is non-governmental Egyptian organization led by youth and a developmental authority. And along the past years, Jacqueline transformed Nahdet al-Mahroussa from a minor institution to a very mega institution in entrepreneurship and youth empowerment, youth and women empowerment. In addition, of course, engineer Ahmed Abdelmenam Gindi, because he's a minority, he's sitting, you can join us, you can still join us, but he feels, he's alone, so he's sitting at the end. Engineer Gindi is the head of Entrepreneurship Guide and the supervisor of the SMEs. He's got a lot of publications and guides in feasibility studies and market studies, and he's also a certified trainer authorized by the ENID, ILO, and the SB. He designed a lot of training sessions and training manuals in entrepreneurship. He's also attended and trained people on, of course, he's got his master's and PhD of civil and industrial engineering. This discussion forum has an objective to reach, to understand the problems of women down to earth. What are the real problems? Not the theoretical problems, but the practical problems faced by women. So I'll start first, Dr. Heba Handoussa. about Nidaa institution that was founded by Dr. Heba. Please give us just a couple of minutes concerning an introduction about the institution. A lot of thanks, Dr. Abla. Oh, I love to be your mother, of course. Each and every one of my students, I really love them. As to the Nidaa institution, it started as an initiative started by the UNGP, and for 5 years, for the second year, now we are in the 7th year, we started after the revolution 2011. Immediately we were so enthusiastic, myself and some of my colleagues. We were in a multidisciplinary activities. We were all very much into the development of Upper Egypt. We started by in Qina Governorate, on the basis of which, of course, it has a long history that started, long time ago, since the 2000, in development, of course, under the auspices of the governor of Qina, General Adel Labib. So, of course, we believed he will give us a good start and he will encourage us with our work. We instituted a real group. This one of the success stories, that we were able to bring up first and second line managers on the level of the governorate. And because we are the Egyptian Network for Integrated Development, the name itself implies that we completely depend on networking. So from the civil societies, we work with more than 56 civil society, basal ones that are available in different villages. From the geographical point of view, we highlight villages, of course, to help the rural economy and how to change the environment positively, so that there will be diversification, economic diversification in trade, industry, services, agriculture, so on. And thank God, yes, we were engaged in all these different programs, services, industry, and agriculture. One of the important criteria of Nidaa institution is that the main objective is to provide job opportunities. We found out that it was not an easy road, but the most important lesson from entrepreneurship point of view, of course, our objectives are women and youth, parentheses. The problem of women in Upper Egypt, they are very conservative society, but they are completely open to change. Upper Egypt, from the cultural point of view, from the knowledge point of view, any sort of chance that we offered in a marginal village, because of course we go to vulnerable villages and marginalized villages, the top 10 poorest villages in the Egyptian map of the 1,000 villages. So that's our main concern in Qina and Sohag. I want to say they are very much open to change. And when we say that there are impediments or challenges, or maybe the beneficiaries themselves have some problems or face some problems, we found that there was the dogma. They didn't even, they just were very much open, and they were not hardliners at all concerning new experiences. The studies on which the guide was built we discovered that they didn't have any information concerning opportunities. They really wanted alternatives. They didn't know where to go. One woman would say, if I'm married, but my parents we don't have lands, we don't own whatever. So these were the problems, that they didn't know where to go. But as to the desire to work was very strong, and there were transportation problems. For example, some women expressed the fact that they could not go out of the house because of transportation. So certain solutions were found to that problem, and we're also working with the poor. The guide distinguishes between women who are educated, college educated, or vocational educated, diploma, and other women who are illiterate. I mean, they don't read or write even. There must be distinction even in the guide concerning this. As to the percentage of women in Kenya more than 15 years, above 15 years, because this is the level for literacy. The literacy rate between women funded by Takaful and Karama, 60%. It's inconceivable, 60%. So sometimes we have to launch illiteracy campaigns, and let me tell you, not every woman agrees to that. Our age segment was from 18 years. From 18 years to 35 years, that was our age segment. Even in this age segment, not every woman thinks that she needs to be educated or to be literate. So we give incentives to her kids 4 or 5 years in a kindergarten at the same place, so she brings her kids with her, and of course full care is being given to the kids. And the number 2 incentive we gave them is that we confirm that whoever will pass after 9 months in illiteracy, if she makes it in the governmental tests, we promised her she will be trained on a certain craft or whatever. So the turnout was very high because of these 2 incentives, to the extent that we are overflown by these demands of women to learn. At the same time, as to the craftsmanship, we have around 27 crafts where half of them would vanish, will disappear. So this is very important, that when we choose something, we have to choose something that has future perspective. Maybe we wanted to introduce craftsmanship, and we know that the markets for craftsmanship is tourism. So we maybe that was not right, because we've been spending 7 years, without sort of good solutions. So what we acquired of that period, that we were not that productive, is that we knew finally, maybe the hard way, that there are certain countries in the Gulf, and we also, the British Museum, and we had, I don't want to go longer than that.
As to the activity of Nidaa and the literacy eradication, this is something that is very observed. When there are literacy eradication programs, women do not go, especially in villages. But when this is linked to an incentive, this is very good. Mrs. Jacqueline, the revival of Mahroussa or Nahdet Mahroussa, when did it start? What are their activities? And please give us an idea about the different problems you are facing. Good afternoon. Nahdet Mahroussa. We have registered with the Ministry of Social Affairs in November 2003. So this November we will be 15 years old. But we started since November 2002. It was the first time the founders started to talk that as a group of Egyptians we have good education and they traveled and worked in many various places, and so the experiences and competences need to be employed so that the development will be only motivated by donors. Uh, so that was the idea of Nahdet al-Mahroussa. Then we found that we are a small group, and whatever are the resources that we have, even if a lot, it's little in comparison to the different needs. And since November 2002 till November 2003, when we registered, the founders were thinking, what can we offer? And what are these resources that we can optimize benefit from it? And the idea of the incubators came up, which is the social enterprises and works of enterprises. Nothing, no expression really expresses it. This social enterprises have an objective is to work with entrepreneurs, like all the entrepreneurs in the business incubators and tech incubators. But those entrepreneurs start their social enterprise to work on a problem in the society and try to solve this problem in a sustainable way. And so this is the difference between the social enterprise and any business enterprise. The difference between this and any developmental project, the developmental projects made by many associations, we take a grant from any donor and implement a project and send reports, and this project may be offering many services, but at the end of this project there's no sustainability, most probably, and so this project is closing down. But the social enterprises create a difference in and change in the society and a solution for the problem we are dealing with through sustainability by lending from the world of businesses, from the different ideas of the business world through a product or service being sold and to whom they are sold, working with social enterprises and all the things that have to do with the enterprise and how to start a company and its types and how to deal with the team and all these things in this team, and also the social part, which is the community on which you are working. During the previous 15 years, we have providing during the first 5 years, like Mrs. Heba said, we were saying social enterprises and no one understood what we were saying. But we said good, what you're doing is good, but no one understood what we were doing and whom we were talking to until the presidential summit of Obama came, and he came to Cairo University and he talked about the entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, and so the people started to understand. And at that time, a window has been opened for the people to concentrate that there are other tracks other than just making training for employees and so on. From that time, we started to create an ecosystem inside Cairo. Many associations are working on supporting social entrepreneurs in different methods, but Upper Egypt and also we can do that in Cairo and Alexandria, and many people are working from the different angles, but out of Cairo support is very limited. So as an association we felt that we are responsible, that we can launch our programs outside Cairo. But I usually said that inside Cairo we don't need programs for entrepreneur women because the opportunities are available and the women are skillful and they can succeed. And outside of Cairo, this is not real. Although there are many women out of Cairo doing a great job. When we listen to what they are doing, we feel proud because they are proud and solving many problems. They are working in very big problems, and by time they start to make this look for the women different, and they also give inspiration factors to the women and girls to start similar work. One of the things that I usually said that the women are not being treated in an unfair way, but out of Cairo they are not being treated in an unfair way. But of course, men are more prevailing, especially in Upper Egypt. She is not totally humiliated, for example, but there are many things that should be taken into consideration to help those women. If we are working with women whose education is intermediate and in a culture where her parents, for example, say you couldn't go out, we should find a way that through the trainings it will be closer to their places, near to their places. So we need to be more closer, to have more proximity to the projects so that they benefit through many things. In Cairo, for example, we have no presence in other governorates, but we are trying to have social partners to work with some associations working with women and work with them, and some other places that are offering services to women, and so on. So we need this relationship network that helps to communicate the service that we need to communicate. Funding, most of the time women are risk averse. They can't don't want to take a risk and be imprisoned, especially that many of the women are the providers for their homes. If there's no father, and if she was imprisoned, the children will be homeless, and so they fear the funding. So we are trying to work with the microfinance institutions. Some people, instead of returning money each month, they can have a grace period and different time periods. And I don't need to talk about the children and the family, and that is commitments during the children and the family and even the people in Cairo. Many of our friends and the people we are working with and the entrepreneurs, or for example when she is pregnant and the people fear that they will start sitting at home, and the community, we are still sitting in meetings and feeling shocked when we see a woman with a baby, and so the community must start not to look to the woman in that way. She has a baby and she can work. The baby is not stopping her from work, but the surrounding community put a load on her. Outside of Cairo, there are a lot of problems. In addition to all the problems that the entrepreneurs of men meet out of Cairo, especially that many women are working on things like agriculture. The woman, for example, according to legislation, she couldn't inherit the land, and even if she has inheritance, she inherits less. But the parents, for example, my parents were saying about the grandfathers that the father can inherit his daughter money, not the land. So these are the things that make the women don't have lands on which they can work and make a project, especially if the community is based on the agriculture. This is the first thing I want to say. Jacqueline, you were talking about that if someone entered, a woman entered to any meeting with a baby, on the Facebook there was a council of representatives in one of the European countries that she not only entering a meeting with a baby but also nursing the baby and making intervention while nursing her baby. I just want to know, give me example for a social, actual example of a social enterprise. I will take from the last round. We were making interviews for them last week. We had some people working on handicrafts. Handicrafts, many women, especially outside Cairo, are very skillful. There is the concept now of whether this handicraft in its own can be a social enterprise, and the answer is most probably no. But there is a model that there is a business entrepreneur and designer and someone who is the owner of the handicraft. This business owner is the one interested in handicrafts and the products, but what he cares for is that this is something how to sell it. So he sells it whether in markets and maybe in Egypt now, Cairo now, and Alexandria. There is the idea of responsible buying, that I am wearing Egyptian clothes but good quality, and have some embroiderment, for example, in the bags we are holding or the clothes we're wearing. So now a market is being created inside Egypt, and the education on how to export is very limited. So a lot of the startups we are working with, this business entrepreneur and the designer come and say, as to the raw materials, couldn't just be things couldn't just be making some works with certain specifications. Maybe we can do some laptop covers, for example, covers for copybooks, like gifts at the beginning of the year. And the owner of this craftsman handicrafts, we need to work on the quality of these handicrafts, the material, whether threads or cloth or any materials they are using, and how to market them. So the social enterprises sees that we have a skill and we have a need. Those people have no work. Most of the people, we were trying to study this issue of crafts because we are focusing incubators. We are, as an incubator, we are taking anyone who is beginning a social enterprise. So if you have a social impact, you can be in the incubator of Nahdet al-Mahroussa. But we found when they work together, they learn from each other. So when the people who are working on clean and green, anything that has to do with recycling and clean energy, learn from each other and use the same network and so on. There is also the creative industries where we have the handicrafts, and also we have the tech for social, which is using the technology for social impact. For example, for trying to help people who are blind, for example, to go out, and those people who have some disabilities, and how to make communication between those different people, or between communication between those who are deaf, through, for example, touching some things. All of these are ideas, but the sector which could create many jobs, especially outside of Cairo and for women, is that the part that has to do with the handicrafts. And this is the biggest sector that, although it has a lot of women working, but it needs to be more organized. Some other people working, there are many examples. There is that and Libra, and some people working because they are making a platform for exporting, for example. Other people are working on the products itself, how to make it and how to make a very good quality out of these products. So this is an example for social enterprises, and there are other examples from the people whom I really love, like a project called Duko. They are working on painting the squatter areas, slums. When we find this big number of slums, they are very ugly here in Egypt. So we are trying to make a beauty out of these slums so that the people can love to see these places. So there's a lot to say about this. So
This is a business enterprise, but it has a social impact which is very positive, or else it will be just a social project. So